1st, 2024 is now in session. This hearing is being conducted in accordance with the applicable provisions of the open meeting law, including the updated provisions enacted by the legislature last year. The new law allows the board to continue its practice of holding virtual hearings until March 2025. This hearing of the board is being held remotely via the Zoom webinar event platform. This hearing is also being recorded. In order to ensure this hearing of the board is open to the public, members of the public may access this hearing through telephone and video conferencing. The information for connecting to this hearing is listed on today's hearing agenda, which is posted on the public notices page of the city's website, boston.gov. Members of the public will enter the virtual hearing as attendees, which means you will not see yourself on the screen and you will be muted throughout unless administratively unmuted when asked to comment. Board members, applicants, and their attorneys or representatives will participate in the hearing as panelists, and they will appear alongside the presentation materials when speaking. Panelists are strongly encouraged to keep video on while presenting to the board. As with our in-person meetings, comments and support will be followed by comments in opposition. The order of comments is as follows: elected officials, representatives of elected officials, and members of the public. The chair may limit the number of people called upon to offer comment and the time for commenting as time constraints require. For that reason, the board prefers to hear from members of the public who are most impacted by a project, that is, those individuals who live closest to the project. If you wish to comment on an appeal, please click the raise hand button along the bottom of your screen in the Zoom webinar platform. Click it again and your hand should go down. When the host sees your hand, you will receive a request to unmute yourself. Select yes and you should be able to talk. If you are connected to the hearing by telephone, please press *9 to raise and lower your hand. You must press *6 to unmute yourself after you receive the request from the host. Those called upon to comment will be asked to state their name and address first and then to provide their comment. In the interest of time and to ensure that you have enough time to do so, please raise your hand as soon as Mr. Stembridge reads the address into the record. Do not raise your hand before the relevant address is called, or the meeting host will not know to call on you at the appropriate time. Okay, Mr. Stembridge.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Present.
Good evening. Ms. Wewell.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Present.
Good evening. The floor is yours, Mr. Stembridge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as Madam Chair alluded to earlier, we will ask if there are any requests for withdrawals or deferrals from this evening's hearings.
Ms. Carney?
Yes, I am at 40 Tyndale Street. I have the appeal number if you want it. We would like to withdraw our application and withdraw the appeal. Do you need a number?
If you have the number or the address, yes.
I have the number here. It's 155-0759. And the address is 40 Tyndale Street in Roslindale.
So that would be case BOA 155-0759 with the address of 40 Tyndale Street. If you would go ahead and explain to the board, please.
We're withdrawing the application. The project just isn't moving forward right now. I'm the owner of the property, and medical issues have come up that prevent me from moving the project forward.
Thank you, Ms. Carney. May I have a motion?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, would this be a motion to defer?
Motion to
withdraw.
Withdraw.
Okay. Motion to withdraw the case.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stembridge.
Yes.
Ms. Wewell.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Motion carries. Good luck, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hearing no further requests for withdrawals or deferrals, we will begin with case BOA 156-3183 with the address of 49 Jeffries Street. If the applicant and or their representative is present, will they explain the situation to the board, please?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney Laureen Scatino from Richard Linz's office with the business address at 245 Sumner Street in East Boston. Here today for the owner of 49 Jeffrey Street, Olivia Labarge. This is an owner-occupied 2-unit building. It's a pretty straightforward application. If you could just move to the second page. Just a quick overview. This is in a 3F 2000 neighborhood of Jeffreys Point in East Boston. Next page, please. Just showing a quick overview. Keep going through the pages. Just showing the site location. So the proposal would be to enclose the pre-existing deck so that the owner has a little bit more living space. So there's already a pre-existing deck. There would be no change in the actual footprint of the building. And the idea would be just to change the deck and rearrange the rear stair. So right now under current zoning, we would require relief from floor area ratio, open space, side yard and rear yard. When and if the new zoning the amendment does take over, this would then be in an EBR3 where we wouldn't need relief for FAR or open space. And this would also fall under the exemptions for pre-existing use. So side yard and rear yard would actually also be removed as a violation. So as you can see here, while they're calling it out a proposed addition, as you can see the point, it really is just the existing deck to be enclosed.
Thank you. Any other? So, and just to clarify, all the violations are pre-existing. You're not exacerbating them.
Correct. We're just enclosing the deck. The only one that pushes out a little bit further would be the rear yard, which just helps out for the egress of the building.
Questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the board. Mela Villagomez with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. ONS hosted an abutters meeting on November 8th, 2023 for this project. The applicant then met with the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association in November of 2023. And the group voted 18 in favor, 5 opposed, and 2 abstain. An abutter present at the Civic opposed this addition, stating that it sets a precedent for development on Jeffrey Street and changes the streetscape. At this time, our office would like to defer judgment to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
No additional raised hands, Madam Chair.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Two.
Next, we have case BOA 1516277 with the address of 30 Moore Street. If the applicant and/or their representative is present, would they explain to the board, please?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. Attorney Mary Kate Campbell with the law firm Drago and Toscano at 11 Beacon Street. I'm here on behalf of our clients, Megan and Kevin Kerwin, who are the owners of 30 Moore Street. They are proposing to build a 2-level deck next to their house. Yeah, if we could stop right here, that'd be great. Megan and Kevin own the house as well as as you can see, the lot next door, which has some grass and a driveway where they park. So they are proposing to build the deck on the strip of grass between the house and the driveway. The deck will meet in the rear where the house exists. It will not go past that. And currently they're cited only for a rear yard setback. The owners have lived at 30 Moore since 2015, and they intend to continue living in the house as their residents and would just like to create some more functional outdoor space and improve their home. Megan and Kevin have a great relationship with several of their neighbors where they have discussed the deck and they're in full support. So I can pause for any questions the board may have.
Thank you. So I understand there are neighbors in support, and there was one that abuts on Chaucer who mentioned concerns. Can you address those?
Yeah, so we've spoken with the rear abutter he had an attorney attend the abutters meeting for him where we discussed the project. as well as we discussed the project and answered his questions at the Harbor View. We attended 2 meetings with Harbor View Neighborhood Association. I believe his main concerns are, where perhaps blocking him in or, making structural changes. I don't want to speak for him, but that are things we discussed. We're not blocking him in any way. The deck is meeting, as you can see, the house. We're not blocking his, steps or entrance into his property. We are not doing structural changes, and the general contractor, John, is here if you have any specific questions about that. But we're not, making the rear setback worse than it already is or smaller than it already is with the existing house. We've discussed the project several times with him, and then as well at one point he did have an attorney that we discussed it with.
Thank you. Other questions from the board? Hearing none, Madam Public Testimony?
Hello,
Yes.
Madam Chair. Oh, hello, Madam Chair, members of the board. Mela Villagomez with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. ONS hosted an abutters meeting on November 30th of 2023. There were questions brought up by an abutters attorney about where the decks would end and if they would inhibit the means of egress to the abutting property behind this project. In February of 2024, the Harbor View Neighborhood Association voted to support the project, with 22 in favor and 1 person opposed. The same abutter on the abutters call was present at that association and shared concerns about the impact this project would have on his property. At this time, our office would like to defer judgment to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, and I believe that abutter is on, so Robert, Mr. Sveraza, sorry if
Yes,
I'm saying your name wrong.
my name's Robert Safraza. I live at 57 Chaucer. I own a house at 55. It's 2 buildings on 1 lot. City of Boston, 109 property. I've had the address for 17, lived here for 17 years. I oppose the project. The proposed new deck with stairs approaches the rear yard. We have a 4.5-foot clearance in the rear of their house. And the deck is going to be set real close to my deck. My front door is up on a deck, which is going to be level with their first floor apartment deck. It's 35 feet long, 8 feet wide. I just want them to put it back 10 feet on the in the 2F-4000 subdistrict. No structure shall be erected other than those allowed to side yards. Those structures may extend the same distance into the rear yard as allowed by a safe side yard, except that they may not come within 10 feet of a rear lot line. I want them to put the deck 10 feet from the lot line. My small deck in the front, my front door is 8.5 feet from the lot line, which was built in 1967. That's all I want. I just want them to put the deck back 10 feet. It's a 35-foot deck. And that's their first floor apartment is actually up in the air where my front door is. So their second floor apartment is a 17.5-foot deck. And that would pertain to that too, because the post would run straight up from the footings. So it's pretty nice. They have a deck. I just want my privacy. The house is the abutter line there, it's real close, trying to work on some privacy issues. So that's, and the deck being set back would be really nice because of renters coming in, illegal barbecuing. My bathroom window is right there at the corner of my house. It's in the pictures I sent the board.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. Any other comments?
Thank you.
No additional raised hands, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Ms. Campbell, can you just sort of address the issue of the width?
Sure. Yeah. We've just Mr. Sferaza has asked us to move it 10 feet. It's just not feasible with the dimensions of the building. It just wouldn't work floor plan wise to move the deck up 10 feet, and we've discussed that with him. We think it's pretty reasonable. We're meeting where the building is. We're not encroaching further into our rear yard closer to him. We're just meeting where the building is. And again, these are just homeowners trying to get some more outdoor space, and they currently, are also redoing the interior just to improve their home and their lot. But we're not encroaching further towards his lot line than as their current home already exists.
Ms. Wewell, any concerns from the plans?
No, I do see where the doors, sort of are towards that setback that provide access to the deck. I think on the second level. But no concerns with the plans. It is a pretty, substantial deck, but again, we also do have a recommendation of approval from the BPDA.
Okay. With that, may I have a
Madam
motion?
Chair, I have a raised hand, Joseph, in the attendee section for this project.
Yes, please.
Okay. Joseph?
Hold on. Joseph? I sent a request to unmute you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
My name is Joseph Duca. I reside at 179 Trenton Street, East Boston. I'm here speaking on behalf of Mr. Spravaza. Just want to note to the board that this proposal doesn't meet the threshold for variances. They have plenty of options to push the deck into the side yard, which they have plenty of room. They also have the front door already on the third level facing the street. So there are many options they can do. They can make the deck bigger, go into the side yard. They got plenty of room. So I just wanted to ask the board to consider putting a condition, if they do approve this, that the deck will remain 10 feet away from Mr. Sabraza's property, so he can have some privacy on his already existing deck. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion?
We'll make a motion of approval with proviso that the plans be reviewed by the BPDA.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second, but I'll, if Mr. Stenbridge is amenable to add more clarification of the proviso that the applicant consider or explore ways to screen the deck from the abutter.
I am certainly amenable to that.
So I'll second that with that.
Okay, Mr. Stenbridge.
Yes.
Ms. Wewell.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, the motion carries.
Oh, thank you. Madam Chair, may I ask a quick clarification question? That was just a BPDA design review with Ms. Wewell's addition, correct?
Design review and screening and buffering.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Next, excuse me, we have case BOA 1554364 with the address of 85 Newbury Street. If the applicant and or their representative is present, would they explain the case to the board, please?
Absolutely. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Tom Miller from McDermott, Quilty, Miller and Hanley on behalf of the applicant, The Thinking Cup. I'm joined by Andre Sadowski of The Thinking Cup tonight. The matter before you is to legalize a long existing patio at the premise. This application came out of a permit process relating to their expansion into a neighboring space at 91 Newbury Street. This expansion was approved by the board in 2019, went through the full review process, but was only related to the interior of the two buildings. There was no application for, and the patio was not expanded related to this process. When going through working with ISD to close out these permits, ISD determined that the patio had not been approved for use by the Thinking Cup, even though it has been existing at the premise since at least 2005. At the time, the previous tenant received permission from the ZBA to operate the 36A and 37 uses, including in the relevant decisions, the already existing patio at that time. In that decision, the board added that the common proviso to this petitioner only for that takeout, for specifically to the takeout use. Upon taking over, the Thinking Cup received the required relief related to that proviso to operate the 36A use and began operating in 2014. That decision solely removed the this petitioner only proviso because that was the only thing conditioned to that petitioner only added into the 2005 decision. Since opening, Andre and his team have their operations have resulted in them becoming a beloved part of the Back Bay community. The patio will continue to be operated as it always has under their supervision in the way that the neighborhood has become accustomed. The plan is it currently does and will continue to seat 30 people and is separated from the sidewalk with permanent fencing. It is monitored regularly by the staff for cleanliness and has existing trash receptacles for disposal of trash by patrons. We're here because this was cited for the use being conditional and the extension of the conditional use onto the patio. This, as I said, has been there for longer, well longer than the applicant has. This use is located appropriately, will not adversely affect the neighborhood, poses no hazards, and does not create a nuisance. And the applicant has the training experience to operate this with the appropriate facilities. As part of this process, we met with NAB. They voted not to oppose. This is simply to allow them to continue to operate an amenity that the neighborhood has long become accustomed to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miller, and I've certainly frequented this myself. Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I have a question. We have a comment from the Disabilities Commission regarding the types of tables and whether the outdoor patio could have at least one wheelchair accessible table in the sidewalk patio area. Is there anything you can share with us on that, the applicant?
So the plan you're looking at is just an illustrative one. But yeah, I have utter confidence that the tables, at least one of the tables will be accessible under the Disability Commission's guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. We have the applicant, sir.
Mr. Newman, you've frozen. Okay, any other raised hands?
No additional raised hands, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, I think it's okay to proceed to a motion. I'm comfortable with that. May I have a motion? There's only two of you to make a motion, so.
I always see Norm
us
on
moving.
mute, so I think he's good. I
Keep us
can go.
moving.
I will make a motion for approval with the, I think there is a proviso that revised plans be submitted to Boston Landmarks Commission for design review and to the BPDA for design review.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Sure.
Mr. Stenbridge. I'm sorry, Mr. Miller?
I'm sorry. I just want to comment that everything. So the patio as it is existing, has been approved by Landmarks. It went through the process at least twice in 2005 and 2014. So this has already been viewed by Landmarks, and they're the relevant reviewing authority here. BPDA doesn't have, as this area, Landmarks is the relevant reviewing authority, and they've already approved everything that is there.
Okay, well, you caught us mid-motion. I'm going to leave it up to the person who made the motion, Ms. Wewell. Do you stand by that, or do you want to revise your motion?
I mean, we have, memos from the BPDA dated March 15th, 2024 with the intention of having Landmarks reviewed. So I'd like to
feel free to keep it. Okay,
Yeah.
and Mr. Miller, if you've gone through it before, I'm pretty sure it'll be fast. So with that,
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Stenbridge.
Yes.
Ms. Wewell.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have case BOA 1559488 with the address of 46 Sturgis Road. If the applicant and or their representative is present, would they explain the case to the board, please?
Hi, good evening, I'm Emily Lilly, the owner of 46 Sturgis Road. We purchased the house in June. There was a garage on the property previously that was torn down before we purchased the home. We are just looking to put a 10 by 12 foot shed in the place of that, where the garage was. And it does not leave it leaves about 1.5 feet from our fence, so on the property line. And we have, I feel like I don't have the, there it is. So you can see it's at the end of our driveway. There was, like I said, a larger garage there once before, and so we're just looking to put the shed in the same place. And then our neighbor directly to that we share, that we are next to, we've spoken to them and they have also signed saying that they don't have an issue with the placement of the shed where it's located.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board?
I have
Hearing
a
none.
question. Oh, sorry, Madam Chair. So, I mean, it is pretty close to the property line. Is there a reason you want it in that location? Like, does it help to have it at the end of the driveway? It just seems like you have more space to work with, and I'm just wondering
So-
what there's.
Yeah, just the backyard itself is not very big. We were just trying to optimize as much space for our kids as in the backyard. And it is right at the end, being at the end of the driveway. If it's when it goes farther over, we have a patio that then the door is opening into patio space. So having it at the end of the driveway for bicycles and those types of things is the reason.
Okay, thank you.
So at
Okay.
this point, it's on the property line. It's obviously not crossing the property line.
No, yeah, it's about 1.5 feet off of it, off the fence. It's not on it directly.
Thank you.
Okay, may I have public testimony? Mr. Newman, any comment?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. The Office of Neighborhood Services is unaware of any concerns at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, may I have a motion?
Motion of approval?
Second,
Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Wewell,
yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries. Good luck, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Next, we have case BOA 1554305 with the address of 302 Beacon Street. If the applicant and or the representative is present, will they explain the case to the board, please?
Yeah, good evening, Madam Chair, Ms. Wewell, Mr. Stenbridge, Attorney Nick Zazula, McDermott, Quilty, and Miller, and Hanley, here on behalf of 302 Beacon Street Trust, who's the property owner. With me tonight is Brett Gordon, who is the property owner, and Doug Mills from Mark Coutone Architecture. You can see here the building in the red dash line. This is in the back bay. Brett and his family recently purchased the property. They are looking to convert an existing 2-unit condo building that you can see here into a single-family home. There will be a full interior renovation with some changes to the exterior. There will be new front stairs to access the first floor, new windows, head house, a new hallway connector between the house and the existing garage. They also will be removing fire escapes, new elevator, mechanical equipment, etc., as part of the project. So you can see the property here in the dash red lines. If you go to the next slide, Stephanie, please, this is perfect. So you can see again in the dash red, there's a proposed rear hallway connector with a roof walkway. That's kind of the addition that triggers our side yard insufficient variance because it's along the property line. But this condition, and what we try to do here is show that this condition is kind of typical in the immediate neighborhood. You know, there are similar hallway connectors to these rear garages that are prevalent and in existence at many of these abutting properties. Basically, on top of the garage, there's also a garage type roof deck, and that's the case here as well. And the hallway connector to the roof, to the garage, and then on top of that, a walkway to the roof, to the garage roof deck would be similar to those abutting properties, and therefore, you know, contextually appropriate with what's up and down the street. Next slide. This is just to show, and I believe I saw Christian on from Groundwater Trust as well, but this is just to show the approvals in place. We do have Back Bay Architectural Commission approvals for all of this proposed work, which you can see on the top line here. We do have a GCOD compliance letter from Hancock Associates because this was a substantial rehabilitation and because it's adding technically square footage to the building because of the hallway connector. It does trigger the GCOD groundwater conservation overlay district. So we did get a compliance letter from Hancock Associates on bottom left. Bottom middle, you can see the Boston Water and Sewer Commission approval of in compliance letter. And then bottom right, it's just our refusal letter. Again, side yard variance as a result of that hallway connector, and then GCOD applicability as well because of that and the substantial rehabilitation of the building. Next slide, please. This is just again to show in more detail that proposed first floor walkway to the garage and then that roof deck on top of the garage. Next slide. Don't need zoning relief for this work. It's just showing you some of the work on the front of the building, just to give you a full understanding of the rehabilitation of the building, both inside and outside. Next slide. And this is just a rear elevation showing the work that's going to be done along the rear, including you know, replacing a plywood wall along the garage with the new brick veneer wall. And again, that walkway you can see kind of on the left-hand side here, showing you know, that hallway connector providing as well garage roof deck access. And final slide, if you scroll down one more, it's just a thank you slide. Again, you know, in essence, they're looking to upgrade and kind of modernize this building while also making it a single family use and providing, you know, better and more controlled access to the rear parking garage, you know, on days like today in the New England winters, as an added amenity to that parking access, and also access to that garage roof open space. And I'm sure that ONS, the mayor's office, will speak to this, but we did meet with the NAB, Neighborhood Association of the Back Bay, and they did provide non-opposition to the project. So I appreciate the time, Madam Chair. We're happy to answer any questions that you or the board might have. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair. There's a note that fire escapes will be removed, but other than that, all the work will be on the interior.
Is that a question, Mr. Stenbridge? I know.
Yes.
No. Well,
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. I can wait. Sorry, Mr. Stenbridge. I apologize.
It is a question. Yes.
Okay.
Well,
so there is work being done outside. I mean, you know, if you count windows and again, that new hallway connector is technically outside. I mean, the building's otherwise not getting any larger, taller, etc. But there is, you know, work being done to the front of the building, as I had mentioned. But none of that triggers zoning relief. It's all within zoning and just, you know, updating existing conditions at the site.
Sounds good.
Thank you. May I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Our office held an abutters meeting on January 23rd. No concerns were raised at that meeting. The applicant then went on to meet with the Neighborhood Association of Back Bay, which offered a letter in non-opposition to this proposal. We're not aware of any concerns at this time. And with that, would like to defer to the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
No additional raised hands, Madam Chair.
Good
Thank
evening,
you, Ms.
Madam
Haynes.
Chair, members of the board, Christian Simonelli, Boston Groundwater Trust, and we have both G-card letters from the applicant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
May I have a
Second,
Thank you, Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Wewell.
yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have case BOA 1543554 with the address of 94 I Street. If the applicant and or their representative is present, will they explain the case to the board, please?
Yes, good evening again, Madam Chair, Mr. Stenbridge, Ms. Wewell, Attorney Nick Zazula, McDermott, Quilty, Miller, and Hanley. Here on behalf of Kaylee and Michael Freyer of 94 I Street. They purchased 94 I Street in December of 2022 with the intention of putting down roots in the neighborhood. They currently live there with their two children, 3.5-year-old and 1.5-year-old. And they're looking to create dedicated play space in their new home by digging out and better utilizing their existing basement. You can see here on slide 2, this is the current state of 94 I Street, what it looks like from the road on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side are the existing conditions in the basement. There are currently 6-foot plus ceilings in the basement now, and the space is, as you can see, used for storage. Next slide, please. And then this is just to show what the plan is. On the left-hand side, the plan is to dig out the basement. As I mentioned, they currently have 6-foot plus ceilings, but they're going to increase the ceiling height to 8.5 feet. They're also, if you saw on the left-hand side of the previous photo, there are non-egress windows that are currently down into that space, and they're going to make them egress windows at the front of the window in compliance with building code. They're also, as you can see here on the right-hand side, looking forward to getting some of the toys from the kids out of the dining room and into the designated play space downstairs. And just as a reference point, our understanding is that the house immediately next door and several others on this block have kind of completed similar basement dig outs and additions of egress windows in the past few years. Next slide is just the refusal letter. All that's needed for this project is just floor area ratio, because they are recapturing kind of that uninhabitable space in the basement and making it habitable space and a family room. So they need floor area ratio. And I think that's it. It's overall a pretty simple project. They're just asking to convert that kind of unused basement space into better utilizing the space for their children and for their growing family as they get into living in the property. So happy to answer any questions you might have, Madam Chair, and thank you.
Thank you. You already answered my questions about height and egress and windows, so good job. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. ONS hosted an abutters meeting on January 31st of 2024. During that time, one abutter vocalized their support for the proposal. Later on, we did receive one letter of concern from a neighbor regarding what they felt was the feasibility of digging out the property and the potential impacts on the foundation and any water or sewer pipes below the property, as well as just general concerns regarding rodents being displaced during the construction. We did not receive any letters or concerns beyond that. With that, we'll defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. This is Laura from Constable Flynn's office. At this moment, Constable Flynn would like to go on record and support. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would the applicant just like to respond to that concern about the digging out, et cetera, before we can make a motion?
Sure, yeah, I can respond to that, Madam Chair. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think as I had mentioned, this is something that has been done on the same block and immediately next door. This is their house. I think all precautions will be taken. It's not that substantial of a digging down. So I think we understand those concerns, but I think that the applicant would have the same concerns as the person who wrote the letter because it's their house. So I think we share those concerns, and proper precautions, will be taken by their contractor from both, rodent control and et cetera, because it's the same concerns that the applicant has. So
And
will
we
be
can
addressed.
chime in. This is Michael and Kaylee Ferrer. We've already had a structural engineer put the plans together. So this was already designed by a structural engineer. So that's certainly of utmost important to us to make sure that the building that was built back in the 1800s is structurally supported through the dig process. So that part's been completed on our end, and we'd make sure we'd follow all the code going forward.
Thank you,
Yep.
sir.
Thanks, Mike.
With that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I will put forward a motion of approval.
May I have a second?
Second,
Mr. Stenbridge?
yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, we do have one hands raised. I don't know if they want to put their comment in the chat. And we'll just note their comment in the chat.
In reference to this project, yes, because we've
I
already
believe so, yes.
made the motion and
So
voted.
if Mr. Lynch just wants to put their comment in the chat, we'll note it. Thank you,
Sure.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay,
Okay, case BOA 1540540 with the address of 384 K Street. If the applicant and or their representative is present, will they explain the case to the board, please?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Attorney Justin Burns of Pulgini and Norton, business address 10 Forbes Road, Braintree. I'm here on behalf of James Kingston, the owner of the single-family home at 384 K Street in South Boston. Just for a little context, this property exists within an MFR sub-district in South Boston Neighborhood District and has a lot size of 2,400 square feet. This project is a proposal seeking to upgrade and update the existing home. Many of the proposed changes involve the improvement and maintenance of architectural facade components such as roof brackets, cornice, window casing, as well as replacing the roof cladding, rebuilding the front porch within its existing footprint, and creating a small rear entry deck. The main exterior work of interest to this board is the construction of 2 dormers. These dormers will not increase the height of the building and are consistent with the context of the neighborhood, as many homes on that block and in the area have dormers. The building will also undergo interior renovations, which will be addressed in a separate permit. We received 3 violations from ISD. We were cited for front and side yard setback, both of which are pre-existing non-conforming and will not be affected by this project. The 3rd violation is for roof structure restrictions stemming from the construction of the dormers. We spoke with the Gate of Heaven Community Association, which allowed us to go to the board without appearing before them, as this is remaining a single family. And ONS also allowed us to flyer the neighborhood as opposed to doing an abutters meeting due to the small scope of work, and I do not believe that any opposition was voiced. So I'll pause for any questions from the board.
thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. As you heard from the applicant's representation, ONS had the applicant flyer abutters within 300 feet, notifying them of this proposal. We did not receive any concerns from those flyers. And it sounds like they checked in with the Gate of Heaven Civic Association, which was appropriate. With that, we'll defer to the board at this time, being unaware of any concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. Councilor Flynn would like to go over record and support. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll put forward a motion of approval.
May I have a second?
Second,
Mr. Stenbridge?
yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have case BOA 1519024 with the address of 41 Dell Avenue. If the applicant and or their representative is present, will they explain the case to the board, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Patrick Sweeney. I'm an attorney with
Sir, can you
Morrissey
speak
Sweeney.
up a little bit? I'm sorry. If you could,
Certainly.
thank you.
My name is Patrick Sweeney. I'm an attorney with Morrissey Sweeney, 261 Main Street, Charlestown. I represent Hector Colon, the owner of 41 Dell. This property is legally a single family. Hector is looking to convert it into a two-family, one unit for himself, and the other unit will be used for rental. Hector purchased this building several years ago. When he purchased it, there are two existing kitchens in this building. He was under the assumption, without having checked ISD, that it was an existing two-family. We've gone through the process, and the violations are parking. We would need a parking space for the additional unit, and that's not possible. FAR, there is no change in the structure of the building. There'll be no exterior changes, no additions, etc. All work is interior. Finally, we were cited for minimal lot size, suggesting that under 59B, the lot size should be 2,100, but I think that's a misconception because 1,400 is the allowable for one up to two units, excuse me. This has 1,451 square feet. We have met with the Community Alliance of Mission Hill on 3 occasions. I believe they have submitted a letter of support to the board. We've had 2 abutters meeting. The first meeting caused us to make some changes in what we were doing here. And in the second meeting, we had no opposition whatsoever. As I say, there is no work that would actually increase the FAR. It's what the existing building is. I would note that in the immediate area of the 21 abutting properties, 2 are single families, 5 are 2 families, and 14 are either 3 families or 4 to 6 families. So the use of this as a 2-family is in keeping with the neighborhood and area. If there's any questions, I'll pause here.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. ONS held the initial abutters meeting January 31st of 2023, where concerns were raised with the proposed number of units. The applicant, upon hearing that, made changes before returning back to the community, where we had an additional meeting with the current proposal for 2 units on November 2nd of 2023. No concerns were raised at that meeting. The applicant, as mentioned by the representation, met several times with Mission Hill Neighborhood Housing Service, as well as the Community Alliance of Mission Hill. The Community Alliance of Mission Hill has written a letter in support of this proposal. With that, we'll defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
No additional raised hands, Madam Chair.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll put forward a motion of approval with the proviso that no building code relief be granted without access to the utility room in the basement by both units.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have case BOA 1550101 with the address of 24 Beaumont Street. If the applicant and/or their representative is present, please explain the case to the board.
Why do we have 49 Jeffries up?
He was just promoted as a panelist, Madam Chair. He may come back on.
No, I'm asking why we have 49 Jeffries up.
Oh.
That was the first case.
Oh, yeah.
We're on 24 Beaumont. The next one after the Dell.
Next, yeah.
Going down. Keep going. Thank you.
So go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Gregory Dunlop. I'm the homeowner at 24 Beaumont Street. We are proposing to rebuild a current garage that's a 100-plus-year-old metal structure. As you can see in the image, it actually looks like it is drywall or wood construction, but it is actually a metal walls and roof that is currently deteriorating and rusting. There are subsequent pictures to show the conditions. The north wall currently acts as a retaining wall for our neighbors, as you can see here at 30 Beaumont Street, or I'm sorry, the north wall at 11 Barrington Street, our next door neighbors. And our backyard neighbors, the east wall of our garage is a retaining wall currently for 30 Beaumont Street. And as you can see, the condition of the existing garage and the metal, 100+ years old, it is rusting. So our proposal, if you continue on through the slides, just shows the condition of the existing garage. We have painted two sides of it where we can reach it to be able to make it a little bit nicer looking. If you continue on, please. You can see our plot plan here where the existing garage is located on the left side in the top right corner of our property. Existing, it is right up against our two neighbors' properties. That is, again, something we inherited that is over 100 years old. Our proposal is to rebuild the garage in exactly the same place at exactly the same amount of square footage. Our proposal is also to make the east and north walls of the garage a proper retaining wall. And you can see it's not exactly right on the property line. It's about a foot or so inset from the property line, again, in the existing conditions, and that's what we would as well maintain. Existing square footage is 350 square feet. Proposed square footage is 350 square feet. If you go on to the next slide.
Can you move to the last slide?
Yep, this just shows the conditions. We would, of course, match the architectural quality of our existing home here in the Adams-Ashmont Neighborhood Association neighborhood area. And it would be clad and painted to match our existing home to blend in with the property.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing none.
I'm
Yep.
sorry,
Oh,
Madam
go
Chair,
ahead.
I have a question. You know, the garage does seem reasonable, but I am wondering if you've talked to those neighbors at 30 about the proposed hot tub with the deck. It does seem pretty close to that property line.
Yes, great question. We have explained the property, the plans to our neighbors at 30 Beaumont Street, and they're in full support. They've actually included a letter, which I sent to Ross Cochran to be on file with this appeal.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. May I have public testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information, the community process. ONS hosted a butters meeting on January 24th. I understand it was a positive meeting. We did receive that one letter of support that the applicant's representation mentioned, and the local civic association, the Ashmont Adams Neighborhood Association, was in support of this proposal. With that, we'll defer to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Excuse me. Yes, Madam Chair. Motion to approve with the provisos that the plans be submitted to the BPDA for design review to maintain or improve the existing side yard setback.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. The motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next, we have case BOA 154-6506 with the address of 18 Monpont Street. If the applicant and or their representative is present, would they explain the case to the board, please?
Do we have the applicant for 18 Monpont
Lisa
on?
just made you a panelist.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Yes, Mr. Santana, we can hear you. Are you the applicant?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is a modest proposal, an existing single-family home. By the way, my name is Luis Santana. I'm the consulting engineer for this project. This is a single-family home on a lot of just over 5,000 square feet. And the plan is to build a rear addition within the existing footprint of the building and change it to a two-family. These are, right now, there are 4 bedrooms, 3 on the upper story and 1 on the first floor, kitchen and bathroom. And as you can see, if you can go to the previous slide, I think the picture, this rear elevation shows the area, that small L on top of which the addition is going to be built in order to add 2 additional bedrooms. And that will be part of the second floor unit. You may proceed to the other slide, please.
So can you just clarify from that picture, are you building above that thing, the thing that's jutting out of the windows on the second floor, or building on top of that deck?
No, that addition that has an L shape, right adjacent to the deck, to the open deck, is where the addition is going to be built on top.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So this is the previous one. Next one, please. This is the first floor. And as you can see, that rear L is where the bedroom and an additional bathroom will be added with a small expansion of the sitting dining area. Second floor contains 3 small bedrooms, kitchen, and living area. And that will be accomplished by separating the floor from the first floor and adding an additional set of stairs on the rear of the building that will discharge directly on the open deck in the rear. The building complies with all the zoning parameters. Nothing is going to happen on the 3rd floor. It's going to continue to be a storage. There is a small attic space. The existing building and the proposed addition conforms to most of the zoning parameters. There are either existing non-conforming or they will not be altered. The only violations are the officer parking that is insufficient. 4 spaces are required for this neighborhood, and the usable open space is also insufficient. We did have enough space to provide more parking in the rear yard, but we will sacrifice a significant amount of open space. So we decided to keep the parking as it is, 2 tandem spaces on the existing driveway. There is no change to that. And the other violation, obviously, is the use, which is a not permitted use. It's a single-family district, which allows only single families, and this is a proposed 2-family. And by the way, this will not be setting a precedent. There are other 2 families in the area, and down the street there are buildings with multiple units as well. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. And the owner is also present in case if you have any questions for her. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, we have comments from Bob D'Amico of Boston Transportation Department. Is the applicant aware of any conversations with Boston Transportation Department?
Do you want to read the comments so he knows what you're referring to?
That would be that 18 Monpont Street, Ward 1, has very poor plans. The width of the driveway is not shown. No cars are reflected on the plan, and no curb cut is shown on the plan as well.
Okay, so just to recap what I think Mr. Santana said, you're making no changes to your parking. So you have existing tandem and you're not doing anything new, correct?
That is correct. For some reason, the plans examiner from ISD cited some sections of the code that related to the parking as if we were building a new driveway. The driveway is existing, the access to it is existing, and we are not planning to change that by any means.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can I jump in with a question? So if you say on this image, it doesn't look like the driveway extends all the way to the rear of the property, but that's what's confusing is because your plot plan shows the driveway extended all the way to the rear of the property. So I'm not seeing that in this image, so it does appear as if you submitted a plan to expand the driveway.
Our company did not prepare these plans, but my understanding is that the driveway it will remain as is. And I will be happy.
Is the image shown here, how the driveway looks? Like,
I believe
no,
this is, yeah,
or
this is
yeah,
a
the
image.
bottom right of this slide? Like it does not go past the house?
That appears to be correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony? Is there public testimony?
Madam
Yes,
Chair.
it is a wait.
Good
Okay.
morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Cecily Graham with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. The applicant has completed the community process with the Office of Neighborhood Services, but while no official position has been taken by the Civic Association in the catchment area, they have expressed concerns regarding the proposal's compliance with city regulations. At this time, our office would like to defer to the judgment of the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna unmute JJP.
Hello, can you hear me fine?
Yep, we can hear you. State your
Hi,
name
I
and
just
address
wanted
for
to,
the record.
oh, sorry. My name is Janelle Jean-Pierre and I'm at 14 Monpont Street, which is next door to 18 Monpont Street. And I submitted a letter opposing the changes. I submitted an email, I should say, opposing the changes, and I didn't know if there were any more, if there was any more information on like the community meetings that we had and the abutter meetings that we had, because I didn't hear a mention of that on this call.
Ma'am, do you want to, for the record,
Yeah,
state
sorry.
your reasons for opposition?
Sure. Today, currently, it's in my email as well, but today, currently, my concerns with what the plans are, it states that it's to turn it into a 2-family for more bedroom space and whatnot. And my questions are, and I wrote this as well, and I explained this on our prior meeting. What are the plans for the actual occupancy of the home? Because today it's being used as a rooming home or a boarding home, however you want to say it. And I want to know what the future plans are because it's not being upkept today. And I've lived there 10 years.
May I answer?
Yeah, you can answer, sure.
Yeah,
please.
Well, first of all, the plans clearly show that this is going to be a change of occupancy from a single family home, 2 stories with above existing 4 bedrooms, I believe now, and it will be changed into 2 separate dwelling units. So it will be a 2-family. Each one of these units will contain 3 relatively small bedrooms, and the addition itself, and that's why I keep going back to my previous statement, is that it's very modest because the addition itself, it will be contained within the existing footprint of the building. We will not be violating any side or rear yards. So that's used, and we indicated during the community meeting with actually both the Bainell Family Association, Neighborhood Association, and the abutters meeting that if the current use of the building is not legal or is not currently being used as a single family home, that they should reach to ISD so the building inspector can write a violation. I don't believe that that was done. And
Oh, I've called. I've done those things that I was recommended to do when we had our calls with the mayor. I did do that.
Mr. Santana, can you also clarify what's advertised? The project description describes adding two bedrooms on the second floor, and you just referenced 2 3-bedroom units. So can you clarify, or Ms. Wewell, do the plans show 2 or 3?
So
Yes,
it
ma'am.
looks like each unit has 3 bedrooms. So maybe it was just the way it's worded that maybe it's like 1 bedroom, they're adding 2. I don't know, but there's 2 units proposed with 3 bedrooms each.
Just
Okay,
keep in
so
mind that there are existing bedrooms on the second floor. So we are not adding 3 bedrooms to the second floor.
you are not, or you are? I just want
No.
clarity from the project
the-
description.
Yeah, the total amount of bedrooms for the second floor unit will be 3. Maybe the confusion is that there are existing bedrooms for the previous single family home on the second floor. So the net amount of bedrooms added to the second floor will be technically 1.
I can only tell you what your own project description says. So it says 2 bedrooms on the second floor. So I just want that to be clear. And obviously there's no one from BPDA, I don't think, who could answer that or whatnot. So any other questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion?
I think what the board is being tasked to do is to allow the 2-family use and the addition. So I'm going to move for approval with the proviso that the driveway remain the same, like there are no changes to the driveway.
Madam Chair, Maria raised her hand after the vote was
Is that
in
an
session.
abutter?
Maria, are you in a butter to this property? I sent a request to unmute you.
If she is in a butter, I would like to hear, because it seems to be a little bit lack of clarity to me.
Marie, can you hear me?
Marie Paul
I sent a request to unmute you.
Oh, okay, she's not in a butter, she's the applicant.
Is the applicant? Okay.
It's the owner, yes.
Okay, well then I don't know if you're gonna add clarity to that question. Why don't we continue the motion then? There was a motion made by Ms. Wewell. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, Mr. Stenbridge,
yes.
Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
chair votes yes, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we have case BOA 1567168 with the address of 410 to 412 Center Street. If the applicant and or their representative is present, will they explain the case to the board, please?
Edwin, you can just state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Edwin Perez. The address in question is 416 Center Street, Jamaica Plain. I am one of the co-owners of a new restaurant that will be located in this location. And we are requesting for the removal of the takeout provision that's attached to the old occupancy permit so we can get our occupancy permit. There has been no construction or changing layout.
Any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office likes to defer to the judgment of this board. Our office does not envision any concerns with no real operational changes here. With that, we'll defer to the board. Thank you.
Okay, any other raised hands?
I don't see any additional raised hands, Madam Chair.
So we did receive a couple of comments of concern just about, I think people parking like in either private spaces or blocking private spaces in the course of doing takeout. I know that's not on you specifically, but if just to, again, put that out there so that you're, cognizant and hopefully work with your neighbors on that. With that, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Next, we have case BOA 1552858 with the address of 45 Glen Ellen Road. If the applicant and or their representative is present, will they explain the case to the board, please?
Owens, I'm going to elevate you to be a panelist.
Hi, good evening. My name is Owen Murray. I'm the contractor for 45 Glen Ellen.
Please proceed.
So currently, right now, it is a small Cape-style home. It's 4 bedrooms. The homeowner is looking to raise it up to a colonial style. It will still remain a 4-bedroom home. They're just going to bring 3 of the bedrooms upstairs and 1 remain on the first floor. Currently, there's 2 bedrooms on the first floor, small kitchen with an enclosed porch off the rear. They're looking to eliminate the bedroom next to the kitchen, open up that wall, and open up the back wall where the enclosed porch is and incorporate that into a large, open floor plan for kitchen and living room. Looking to build a small 8-foot deck off the rear, which is why we're in violation. Actually, the whole house is in violation from the rear lot. Nothing too crazy. It's pretty much just all the bedrooms move upstairs except for the one. There's gonna be a master bath and a secondary bath to the other bedrooms. The house is pretty much matches all the surrounding homes. I think that's like one of the only capes down that end of Glen Ellen. But besides that, nothing else is really changing on the footprint of the house besides the deck.
Sir, can you just, what are the dimensions of the deck and how far does that put it away from the setbacks?
The deck is, it extends 8 feet out from the rear of the enclosed porch, and from there, it's 21 feet from the back of the deck to the rear of the property.
Sorry, and the dimensions of the deck are?
It's 8 feet out. I'm not sure the width. I can pull that up now. It's the same dimensions as the enclosed porch. Sorry, it's 18 foot 8 by 8 feet.
Okay.
And that will act as their egress essentially from the rear of the home.
Okay. Questions from the board?
I have a question, Madam Chair. So I'm curious what the existing kind of conditions are. And I see on the site plan behind the proposed deck, it looks like there's an existing deck, but it's
they have a unattached old wooden deck it's just kind of ground level. He's gonna rip that up and just keep the grass there.
Okay. Is it like, I'm just curious, is it high up? So you're saying it's ground level, so it's more of like a patio, but probably more wooden than like a stone?
Correct. Yeah, it's
okay.
It's showing a little closer than it is actually there. But yeah, it's essentially instead of a stone patio, we have a pressure treated deck just sitting there.
see.
It's just, yeah, like 8 inches off the ground.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, I just want to note it is further towards the rear lot line than the proposed work. So thank you.
Yeah, I think there's BPDA comments about reducing the size of the rear deck to meet minimum required setbacks. I think that's why we're asking that question and want to just better understand what that currently is and what it becomes.
Yeah, so that platform is not even involved. That's coming up. That's getting demolished. So that rear deck is only just 8 feet. It's just enough for like a small couple of chairs, and like a small patio table, and essentially just an egress.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Ben Tyag from the Office of Neighborhood Services. And a butters meeting was held for this project on January 8th, 2024. 2 questions were raised at that abutters meeting, and both questions were answered to the satisfaction of the abutters. At this time, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services defers to the judgment of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
No additional raised hands, Madam Chair.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'm going to put forward a motion of approval. I think I can see the BPD's recommendation. However, to make it fully conform, they would have to eliminate the deck because it's now proposed 21 feet from the rear setback line, and what's required is 30. So that would essentially remove the whole deck. And I think there's an existing structure closer to the rear property line. So this is essentially sort of improving the deck's distance from the rear. So I would like to make a motion of approval for those reasons.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes, the motion carries.
Okay, have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next case has been withdrawn. So we move on to case BOA 155-0175 with the address of 152 LaSalle Street. Is the applicant and or the representative present to explain the case to the board?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Kevin Cloutier with a business address of 1990 Center Street in West Roxbury. I'm an attorney that's representing the applicants. I'm joined by the project architect, Jason LaGorga from Design Architects, and also the homeowner, Timothy Ecker. And we're here to present a modest proposal to add a dormer to the second story of this home that would increase living space and allow for an additional bathroom in that second story. This is a family with 2 young children. And we're also asking to legalize some pre-existing basement living space that had, prior to our clients owning this property, there's some work done that was non-permitted. So I'm going to turn it over very briefly to Mr. LaGorga to talk the plans, then I'll address the unique zoning issue we have in place here. Jason?
Members of the board, Jason LaGorga, 631 LaGrange Street. The plan, if you could scroll down a couple pages, it's fairly straightforward. The next slide, please. The existing plans there, you can see that 3rd floor plan coming in from the left. The existing 2nd floor has 2 bedrooms and 0 bathrooms. And if you could scroll down to 2 slides, please. With the creation of the 33-foot dormer there along the northeast side of the house, we're able to get 3 bedrooms and an additional bathroom. So in total, they will go from 2 bedrooms and 0 baths on the 2nd floor to 3 bedrooms and 1 bath, and the total added square footage is 272 square feet. The dormer meets all required setbacks.
And that's essentially it for what we're adding to the home. The zoning issue here is a 1 violation of floor area ratio. And if we were just doing the dormer, then we wouldn't have the violation. But if you don't mind going down to scroll down. Well, actually, if you could stop there, just to sort of in conformity with the intent of the code, adding the dormer will be consistent in this neighborhood. I just showed some other homes in the area that have similar style dormers. And if you can go down 1 more slide, please. This is a little wordy, I'll talk this, but if you go to the next slide, it may put it into better context. So the violation is triggered by us requesting a legalization of existing basement space. And that's something that was important to the clients because it's a space the children spend a lot of time in. And again, there was work down there that pre-existed their ownership. And the basement really has two sections, the mechanical and storage. That's obviously not included in floor area ratio. But by actual legalizing the existing living space, where you can see really it's the bathroom that ultimately causes this to be considered living space and triggering the FAR violation. You know, that brings the FAR up to 0.5. It is a 0.4 zone. And I would just simply stress, I mean, it's due to not adding any space, but just legalizing space that's not adding any additional mass to the property. So we'd ask for the board to consider allowing this or approving this variance for it being fairly modest. We have a lot of neighborhood support, and it really just allows for the family to remain in place and raise and stay in the neighborhood. Mr. Yacker, who's here on the call, would certainly be happy to speak to the board if it felt it necessary to hear why this is important to him and his family. Beside that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have a public testimony?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Ben Tyag from the Office of Neighborhood Services. And a butters meeting was held for this project on January 4th, 2024. At this meeting, two abutters spoke in support of this project. The Office of Neighborhood Services is also aware of 7 letters of support submitted in support of this project. At this time, the Office of Neighborhood Services defers of the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
No additional raised hands, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. The motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Next, we have case BOA 1547600 with the address of 31 Pelton Street. If the applicant and or their representative is present, will they explain the case to the board, please?
Hi, we are Brian and Gail Willett. We are the homeowners at 31 Pelton. So thank you for taking some time to talk to us about what we want to do with our home. We are longtime homeowners who want to keep our family in the city. These updates will allow our growing family to create a mudroom to keep all of our kids' coats, shoes, sports equipment in. A small step back addition on the second floor to enlarge our daughter's bedroom and make it a similar size to the other bedrooms on the second floor. And we're looking to do dormers on the third floor that will allow Brian's mother to come up from South Carolina and stay with us for a month at a time or more and see her grandkids. The addition is at the rear of our home, and will not change the look of the front elevation. And because our house is in a one-family, 8,000 square foot sub-district, the existing home as it is now is already in violation of all the zoning codes. The only change we would be making is the addition at the back brings the distance closer to the rear property line. So it changes it from 52 feet, 10 inches to 32 feet, 10 inches. We met with the neighbors and did the neighborhood meetings and heard positive comments and support from the abutters. So we're happy to take any questions.
Sorry, any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Ben Tyag from the Office of Neighborhood Services, and a butters meeting was held for this project on December 12th, 2023. There were 2 questions asked by abutters. Both questions were answered to the satisfaction of the abutters. And at this time, the Office of Neighborhood Services defers to the judgment of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
And no additional raised hands, Madam Chair.
Okay, with that, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I will put forward a motion of approval, but with BPDA design review, with attention to the rear addition and the dormers.
Is there a second?
Fair enough, second.
Mr. Stenbridge,
Yes.
Ms. Wewell,
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. The motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have case BOA 1542162 with the address of 32 Worley Street. If the applicant and/or their representative is present, will they explain to the board, please?
Ms. Edson, we see you, but we can't hear you. We still cannot hear you. Oh, there we go. Do you want to unmute yourself again?
There we go.
Unmute.
Okay,
there
I'm
you go.
unmuted.
There you go. Perfect.
But my husband's going to speak.
Well, one of you needs to mute because you're creating a feedback.
All right. Are we coming through?
Okay. One of you needs to unmute. We can't hear you.
How's that?
You can try. I don't know why we're hearing echo.
Mitchell, can you speak? Hello, are we coming through?
Yes.
That's
good. Thank you.
I think they're on two devices.
Yeah, I think you
Or
should
they may
turn
be
on.
sitting next to each other.
Okay, we'll shut that one.
Mitch, I'm gonna,
Yeah,
I
either
would
Peggy
mute the
mute or
Peggy one.
Mitch mute, you know?
I would mute Peggy because, yeah, there you go.
All right.
Perfect.
Madam
Thank you.
Chair, members of the board, as you can tell, we are not MIT material.
No worries.
But we're doing our best. Thank you for your work and for your stamina. My wife Peggy and I own the residence at 32 Worley Street in West Roxbury. It is a 6-room Cape Cod home built in 1951. It has always contained a rear enclosed porch. And the porch has been 14 feet wide and 10 feet deep. It is a prior non-conforming use because in 1951, the current requirement, side yard requirement of 10 feet was not in existence. And the space between the edge of the porch and the boundary line is 7 feet 8 inches. So we are 28 inches short of the necessary 10-foot dimension. On the other side of the boundary, our neighbor is 14 feet and 2 inches. So if you add up the space, it does meet the requirements of at least 20 feet between the houses. But at any rate, we applied for a permit to convert the porch to an all-purpose season room. And we found out at that point that there was a side yard insufficiency of those 28 inches, hence our appeal. We would construct the all-season room on essentially the same footprint as the porch. The porch must come down in order to meet code requirements because the room will require a foundation and a different quality of floor. So we must take the porch down, put up the new room. It will be essentially in the same footprint. The width will be unchanged. The distance from the boundary will be unchanged. It will be 3 feet deeper. And at the back, we're going to add a deck 12 feet deep. There's no problem with the rearward dimensions. The distance from the back of the new deck would be about 88 feet to the rear boundary line fence. That is about 3 first downs. So essentially, we are asking for permission for a 28-inch variance that would keep that north side of the house in the same position it has been for the last 72 years, really. only it'll consist now of different material. We're unaware of any other violation. Inspectional Services did not cite any. And obviously, we're hopeful that the variance would be appropriate. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience. I know it's difficult being the last one up. I have no questions. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, may I have public testimony?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. This is Ben Tyag from the Office of Neighborhood Services. And a butters meeting was held for this project on January 2nd, 2024. And at this time, the Office of Neighborhood Services will defer judgment to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other raised hands?
I don't see any additional raised hands, Madam Chair.
Thank you. With that, may I have a motion?
Motion of approval?
May I have a second? Thank you. Mr. Stenbridge?
Yes.
Ms. Wewell?
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. The motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.